reporters. Last week, 2 doctors got brutally thrashed in JJ Hospital in Mumbai. This happened late Thursday night, Friday morning. Before that, 2 security guards were allegedly stabbed. Several doctors brutally attacked on Monday at Indira Gandhi Government Medical College in Nagpur. In December 2017, a doctor in Maharashtra's Dhule lost his eye after he was attacked by a mob of angry relatives of a patient. Over the next 40-odd minutes, I will list out a few other horrifying incidents where doctors in our country have been at the receiving end. In each case, angry relatives of patients or the patient themselves have unleashed themselves on the doctors. In some cases, they have done so brutally and mercilessly. Every few months, in some or the other part, our doctors go on strike, demanding a bit more respect, more importantly, demanding security and safety for themselves. When they go on strike, the patients suffer during these protests. And that simply adds further to the angst of the patients. This vicious cycle between the doctors and the patients only seems to be worsening by the day. Unfortunately, it has not managed to wake up our government. So tonight, this is the big debate. Why is India so angry with its doctors? Are they really to blame? Are they really so negligent? Or are we, as people, simply an intolerant, entitled bunch who believe it is okay to start thrashing and smashing people? Or is it because patients and doctors are actually stuck in a non-existent, pretty much disastrous public healthcare system? That's the big debate on the other side of this report.
JJ Hospital, Mumbai. 2 resident doctors assaulted. Hospital property damaged. Indore, Madhya Pradesh. Doctor of MYH hospital beaten up and doctors go on a strike. Kolkata, West Bengal. Doctor of RE Life Hospital assaulted. Beaten after being accused of practicing Ayurveda. Pune, Maharashtra. Resident doctor attacked with a scalpel. Paramedics roughed up by patients' relatives. Dhule, Maharashtra. Resident doctor assaulted by relatives of patients. Mob kicks, slaps doctor. Savai Madhopur, Rajasthan. Doctor assaulted by 3 men. Assaulted for using foul language. India is witnessing growing instances of assault on doctors. Angry family members reacting in the heat of the moment, accusing the doctors of negligence, of failing the patient.
She has bruises over her back, over her abdomen and even on her hands. So you can always term that as molestation, because a girl being attacked by 4 men in a ward. Yeah, while she was doing a procedure, she was actually giving cardiopulmonary resuscitation to the patient. But she was held by her neck and dragged towards the wall and then beaten up.
There have been so many days as such when anyone could have come in. There is no security on any of the floors. We have security on the ground. We do not have securities in all the wards and all the floors, but we are expected to stay in the ward 24/7. This one incident shows that it is so easy for anyone to come into the ward and take out their anger in any way possible.
As of now, we are just on a mass bunk. From today, 10 o'clock, we are on a mass bunk, indefinite mass bunk. We are not going to emergency and all.
Today was the 3rd day of the mass bunk of JJ Hospital's resident doctors. The protest was against the attack which took place on resident doctors on the intervening night of Friday and Saturday. So this time the resident doctors of JJ Hospital, they are on a mass bunk, 3 continuous days of mass bunk to protest against these attacks and the demand for more security deployment. They always went back to work. They resumed their duties on verbal assurances by the government, but this time, unless they see the promises being implemented on the ground, they are not going to resume their duty.
But why is India angry with doctors? Can the government step in and come up with the solution to the healthcare system? Let's debate.
Let's say good evening to our guest joining us this evening, Shri Ram Khanna, founder for Consumer Voice, Shailesh Gandhi, he's the former Chief Information Commissioner. I've got Dr. Sameer Dalwai, National President of the Developmental Chapter and President of the Mumbai branch for the Indian Academy of Pediatrics, Rajiv Pandey, leader of BJP, Padma Shri Dr. Mohsin Wali, eminent cardiologist. In fact, I'm going to start with Dr. Wali and ask him this. Dr. Wali, good evening. To what do you attribute these growing instances that we are hearing, not just in Mumbai, but in many parts of our country, from Delhi to Indore, Patna, Odisha? It's just happening everywhere. Why are we seeing such incidences where doctors are actually becoming the victims?
Thank you for asking me this. Actually, people are thinking, they have started thinking that doctors are also a commodity. They are paying for their services, which is not very true to the government hospitals. Apart from this, there is a lack of communication between the doctors and patients. Apart from this, one more factor is that while the patients are brought, serious patients are brought to hospitals very late, there is lack of communication between the doctors and the attendants of the patients. And when the patient dies, there is a hue and cry. When the patient survives, there is no pat on the back of doctors. Number 4 is that there are some provocative factors in the society. Apart from lack of communication, there is some degree of misbehavior involved on both the sides. I would say it will start first from the doctor side, if at all there is a provocation. But normally, in 9 out of 10 cases, doctors have to keep cool. They keep their cool, they maintain silence, and they are very perseverant and they are very tolerant. Most of the time, this issue comes up from the restlessness of the illiterate attendants who do not try to understand the situation of the patients. Also, they bring, negligently, they bring the patients to the hospitals very late. And the cautions of respect of the doctors in the society is gradually falling because of the corporatization of the medical care. And most importantly, it is the communication which is lacking. Misbehavior starts from a tiny issue which boils down to a bigger issue and leads to all these things which we are seeing today at the backlash of the behavioral problems. The society is also very restless, and the society has to compensate for the nature of duty of doctors. They are working day and night round the clock, and doctors should also understand that they have to deliver. Gone are the days when the doctors were respected like God. So we have to deliver, we have to show the results. At the same time, we have to communicate with the patients about the condition. Most of the time, if we do not communicate properly, the attendants want to know what has happened to their patient. It's a lack of communication which boils down to all these serious issues which later on involves administrative problems.
So, doctor, often what happens, is that, you know, like you said, sometimes patients just come at a very late stage. Now, I was going through the details of few of the incidents that have happened in recent past. Kidney failure or the much advanced stage of tuberculosis and things
patients
like that. Yes. So how do you ensure that you are able to communicate the situation properly to the family without the family turning around and saying, no, you are responsible because you were negligent and you didn't do enough? That's usually the case. They lash out, they thrash the doctors because they say you have been insensitive and you have been negligent.
If we take proper history, the family attendants would realize how long the patient is sick, what was he doing before. Like a patient of heart attack who is a heavy smoker, who has been having pain in chest for last 3 months, who has been shown to various doctors, they have asked him to quit smoking, they have asked him to control the blood pressure. Suddenly he comes with a very massive heart attack to the emergency of a hospital and dies in next 10 minutes. So this is all the attendants know. No, they know it. Previously, they know the patient is sick. The patient was non-compliant to the advice of previous doctors.
Right.
But the whole is to be emphasized again in the history taking, because there is very less time at this point of time when the patient comes serious, very little communication takes place. That is why all these things happen.
Okay, so, we started doing some research.
So it is basically communication.
To see if we could build this up as a larger story that
Yes.
we're debating tonight on the back of what is happening in JJ Hospital in Mumbai for the past 3 days. And we very quickly realized that we didn't have to put in much effort to bring out instances. Within 15 minutes, we were able to pull out just 10 incidences which have happened in just the last couple of weeks. Here are some statistics for our viewers. Between January 2015 and August 2016, 44 cases of assault on doctors were recorded. But according to the IMA survey, it is worse. According to the Indian Medical Association survey, 75% doctors have faced violence at work in our country. 48.8% doctors face violence from ICU cases, from intensive care unit cases. 68% of this ruckus, this violence happens by the relatives of the patients. In some cases, even though there has been security present, those security personnel actually have also fallen victim to this kind of violence. They have also been stabbed, they have also been thrashed and badly injured. Shailesh Gandhi, what is it? Is it just that we have become this intolerant bunch of people who think that they're entitled to this service that they're not getting it, and it's okay to lash out at the other side?
The blame certainly lies on those who misbehave in this manner, people, patients or the relatives who beat up doctors and assault. But I would like to put another question. Why is people also have a huge dislike for political VIPs and for government servants? Have you heard of such incidents in government offices or against VIPs? The answer is no. Is it that the citizens love the VIPs and the political class and the government offices? The answer is no. In fact, in a typical government office, when a citizen goes there, he comes out feeling humiliated, frustrated and angry. The difference is basically in the security provided. Hospitals are not being provided adequate security. That is really the reason. And if a state cannot provide security to its doctors in hospitals, I think there is a serious problem. They should relook at this and ask themselves, how are they able to provide security in Mantralaya? Have you ever heard of an incident in Mantralaya of this nature? Have you ever heard in even a normal government office, in the collector's office, have you heard of incidents like this? Is it that they are very sweet and pay attention to all the people who come there? The answer is no. The fault does not lie with the doctors. More communication, all this is fine. Please tell me, how much sympathy do the normal government servants give to the citizen? A man goes for a ration card and yet he does not raise his hand because he feels that he cannot do it. Here it's a security issue, and clearly the government is not doing enough for the security of the doctors. And the doctors are right. And I think every time they go on strike or delay going to work or take mass leave, they are persuaded, and rightly so, that for the patients, they need to go back to the hospitals and work. I think the government must ask itself, how is it able to provide security to all these other classes, all government offices, and is incapable of providing it to hospitals and doctors? I don't believe that.
Let me take that question across to Mr. Rajiv Pandey and ask him this question. Mr. Rajiv Pandey, for VVIPs, there is a lot of security that's available 24/7, 10 cars, 15 security personnel at the drop of the hat, wherever they want. For all the government offices, there is security. Why not for at least the government hospitals and the corporation hospitals? Why are we failing to protect and save the doctors who are meant to save our lives?
I personally feel the kind of trust deficit is going up between the patient and the doctors. But the real issue is that there is no security in most of the government hospitals, and the kind of pressure has gone up because of our population issues and all. So people are getting frustrated. Per capita doctors and per capita hospital has not gone up. Our population is growing like anything. So government has to do two things in my view. First, they should be given full security, because doctors, they try their best, but if somebody is not surviving, you can't blame the doctors. The issue is if somebody is feeling that because of the negligence of doctor, some patient has suffered some issues, then there are some issues, there are IPC sections and you can claim against the doctor. But nobody has right to beat the doctor or take law into their own hands. The issue is about the security. You know, earlier it was not looking like that. Doctors were treated like gods, but now that is not the situation. So government will have to take measures that how to protect the hospitals, because it was never like that. But the basic issue is that the people are getting angry because the per capita hospital and doctor is going down. You know, the kind of population explosion is happening in the country, nobody talks about that. The issue is how many hospitals you can give me, how many per capita police you can increase, from where these financing will come. It is between the trust deficit should not go up, because you know people should think that no doctor wants to treat his or her patient.
Whose responsibility?
That patient
You are
should
saying
die.
the government
But
should
the
do
people
it. Why is the government not doing this? If it's this obvious, which it is,
you know,
why is the government not able to provide security?
You see, everything cannot be done, madam, in 1 day or 2 days. This is issue is happening. It has started happening in some time because of, I am telling you, because the pressure on the hospitals. You should go and see AIMS one day. How doctors are working 18 hours. They are also frustrated. When some patient asks, they also respond. And then so many people are allowed to go to hospital. And this is more, if you ask me, you know, per capita hospital or doctor cannot be increased in a very short span. Government is trying to do that. Now several AIMS has been opened that people should not come from the far away to Delhi. If now government hospitals are overcrowded, then who is responsible for that?
Government.
You should do one debate that how the population is growing in this country.
For that,
Why you are
Mr.
not
Pandey,
talking about the real issue?
I'm confused here. You are representing the BJP. We were hoping that you will be able to give us answers to these problems.
No, I am saying that's why several AIMS has been opened a few days back. Also in Devdar, AIMS has been opened, so the pressure on the doctors will go down.
Government
you know,
offices?
it is more because we have created. I am saying you know, because you are absolutely right, because there the security were in place for a long time. Because we have inherited a bureaucracy which has always done to protect
I don't know how long it will take you to even enact an
an
action. Where is the action? Where is the draft plan? Where is the proposal? The only proposal you came up with to increase the strength of doctors is to say, let's start giving certificates to Unani doctors and other alternative science doctors as well and put them on power. That's the only solution the government has come forward with.
You know,
it's not even as if you've even made attempts in the past 4 years. Dr. Dalwai, okay. I'll come back to you, Mr.
Not doing a debate that in this country we are bringing Bangladeshis, even they are overcrowding. We are increasing our population.
So even then you are the government, you will be responsible for that. But don't try and derail the conversation we are having tonight. I'm sorry.
No, madam,
that is not the cause. That is not the cause of
Government is trying.
overcrowding. No.
And several new AIMS has been opened.
I'm very impressed with Mr. Pandey's exposition of the population and Bangladeshis causing doctors to be beaten up in India. Congratulations. I'm very impressed with your creativity. But I have a question to ask. I'm a citizen of India. The Constitution of India confirms or assures me a right to life and a right to health. And it is a duty of the government to ensure that the Constitution is being applied appropriately. In terms of right to life and right to health, it's the government's job to ensure that everybody gets it by creating systems good enough for good health and for long life. That includes everything from infrastructure to pollution to controlling the hygiene around, to controlling the spread of malaria, to having good hospitals, to having well-staffed and well-equipped hospitals, and to have well-equipped and well-trained doctors inside it. So the doctors, let me tell all my countrymen, are a small cog in the wheel. They are a small cog in the wheel. Unfortunately, we feel, and the government very smartly plays in a play, that whenever the relative is aggrieved, and I agree and I understand that it will be agreed, the entire onus is shifted only to this small cog in the wheel who has absolutely no locus standi in the administration or the powers that be. And it's very smart of the government of the day, whichever party it may have been in power, to put this doctor up to face the crowd, ire of the crowd. But what it really means, it's a blatant failure of the government to provide what is enshrined in the constitution, that is the health and life of citizens. And to cover up this massive failure of the national health policy or whatever it should be, it's the doctors who are facing the brunt of it. All the reasons given by our esteemed panelists are absolutely right, but the reason is the government plays into this and puts the doctor up to get beaten up, the resident doctor, the junior doctor who's worked for the last 36 hours without having a meal, without having had any sleep, and is still there on the floor. And if these resident doctors were to go off, mind you, if the resident doctors were to go off, the public health system of this country would collapse.
Yes.
Which is why whenever they go on strike is the time anybody takes attention about it. So let's be very clear, it's the duty of the government, and the constitution makes it mandatory to the government to provide health to the people of this country. The doctors are a small cog in the wheel. They have no right to decide how many doctors should be hired. You're talking about JJ Hospital, please go and find out how many doctors are on duty and how many patients are in the ward. You look at the pediatric wards, look at the ICUs. What is the staff strength of nurses? What are the drugs available? What are the medicines available? Does the doctor order for this? Does the doctor buy the medicines? Does the doctor is responsible for arranging all this? It's very clear who's at fault here, and it's very clear who's being beaten up for it.
No, so I have also been reading some of the comments that doctors themselves have left for us on Twitter and even on Invol. And one of our viewers has said that my sister is a surgical senior resident. She says, he's given 4 pointers. Senior doctors don't show sympathy to patients as the new doctors do. So number 2, bystanders are not ready to accept relatives is critical and they want to just blame someone. The relatives don't want to accept that the problem is also that the patient is perhaps beyond help now and they rather just blame the doctor. Of course, the hospitals are understaffed, and then there are unjustified bills with the wording miscellaneous. Insensitivity and commercialization, are these also factors, Mr. Sriram Khanna, which are adding to this entire issue where we are seeing patients and their families hit out the way they are?
See, at the outset, let me very clearly support what the earlier speakers have said. You cannot condone relatives of aggrieved families to take the law in their own hands and resort to violence against doctors. It is wrong, and the police and the security will have to do something about it. That being said, it's also the responsibility of the government to provide adequate healthcare facilities. As has been pointed out, the doctor is only one cog in the wheel. There are the paramedical staff, there are other medicines, support staff, administration, and all the other paraphernalia to run a hospital, including diagnostic labs. They all need more resources, and it is the job of the Union Health Ministry and the state health ministries to ensure that every district has proper facilities of government hospitals and doctors and systems. But it is understaffed. That is, I also agree. But at the same time, let's go to the private sector. There is no shortage of facilities in the private sector, but the problem is different. There are very good hospitals, there are very good doctors and paramedical staff as well as security. But there are in both private and public medical negligence, there is abusive practice, unethical practice, insensitivity, prolonging treatment to extract money out of patients, commercialization, insensitivity. All these are problems which don't have a solution. And a family of an aggrieved patient, if he sees these things happening, and I like to distinguish between a citizen going to get a ration card and not resorting to violence, and a citizen bringing a family member to a hospital who is dying on the stretcher. They are two different situations. The emotional quotient of one is 100 as compared to 10 in the other. So in this desperation, they don't know what to do. And in the face of poor communication and insensitivity and the perception of exploitation, commercialization, they feel angry. And let me tell you, there is no system except the police. Will patients go to police against doctors and hospitals? Are the police equipped to handle these complaints? The Supreme Court has said even the police cannot take action without expert medical advice to see whether there was negligence. And they can only take action against negligence. What about commercialization? What about prolonging treatment? What about unethical medical practices? What about cuts being taken? All these medical practices which are wrong They have to be outlawed, and the government must bring a law to ensure that every state has a medical board where if a patient is aggrieved and his family is aggrieved, he should complain, and the medical board should have an inquiry and bring out a report. And if there is negligence or there is unethical conduct, action must be taken against all those responsible. The management of the hospital, the doctor, the paramedical personnel, etc., etc. There is no such system. I am sorry, the NDA's health policy has completely failed, either in providing proper medical facilities to the Indian citizens or in providing medical justice, so that if there is something wrong with the medical system, the patients can complain and a fair treatment is taken and a hearing takes place and they give an order of what is right and what is wrong. All that is left to the hands of the police and the consumer court. And let me tell you, no doctor is willing to give evidence. No doctor is willing to give evidence against another doctor. All the cases which are going to consumer courts are being lost because one doctor says, why should I give evidence against my brother? And he's not giving evidence. Even the police don't find medical experts to give evidence, and most of the cases are lost. So the doctors really have no accountability. Of course, they should get security. But what about the complaint against the black sheep in the medical fraternity and in the hospital administration of maladministration, negligence, unethical conduct, commercialization, wrong treatment, using treatment to extract money from patients' families, as we have seen dozens of cases.
Yes, let's take this point by point. There are two aspects here. One, of course, is the fact that there is no accountability, that when instances of negligence happens, we don't see much of an action, and that adds to the problem. The other larger problem, of course, is the lack of public health services in our country, and successive governments' complete refusal to even acknowledge that. Now let's come to the second part first, and I will take this point across to Rajiv Pandey and then go across to Dr. Wali. Dr. Wali, you wanted to make a point first, and then maybe Rajiv Pandey can respond to both.
Sure. I have to make this point that if you provide the security to doctor in the hospital, what about when he leaves the hospital for hostel or when he goes out on the road? This is very important, that doctors should inculcate the respect in the society, the point which I am trying to make. Yes. The doctors of our generation have finished almost. The second point is the society needs to respect the doctors. Unless this comes from within the society, nothing is going to happen. No police can stop, no administration can. The society at large is losing respect of doctors, which is wrong. Which is absolutely wrong. We are serving people, we are soft targets, we are doing our best. Our doctors of India are the best in the world. Whichever system we are running in UK and USA, in Gulf countries, everywhere in the world, that system is proving that Indian doctors are the best. But why these best doctors are not able to satisfy their clientage is overcrowding. Overcrowding is most important. Second is the senior administrators do not take rounds of the emergencies. Like this time when the emergency is crowded, 2 people who have drunkards who have landed, 2 people of roadside accident, 3 people of burn. It's like this, the emergency is overcrowded and the triage becomes very difficult. This point of time, administration should come up and see what is the actual number of the doctors needed at a given time in the emergency setup of a hospital, and they should provide that number of doctors to satisfy every service and patients attendants. And this is where we are lacking very, very seriously, and that is why people are losing temper on doctors. People are also misbehaving.
This data may be slightly dated, but perhaps you or Dr. Dalwai can actually help me to say if I'm right or not. One government allopathic doctor every 10,000, for every 10,100 odd people in our country. That is the ratio we are looking at. There's a one government bed for every 2,000 people in our country. That is the ratio that we have. There is one state-run hospital for every 90,000 people. Ratio. Is this the kind of burden we are looking at? Then how are we supposed to obviously expect the doctors to give us any kind of focus service? Look at how overburdened and understaffed they are.
Exactly.
Yeah, so can I just come in here?
Exactly. And the amount of seriousness with which the patients land up in our emergency is also important. They land up at a very late stage of the disease.
Okay.
Almost
can
dying,
I just come in here?
almost anemic, almost lack of blood.
You know, it's very easy and it's wishful
can
to
I
say
just
that
say
we
one
hope
line,
that the
ma'am?
society has
Tanvi,
better
can I
respect
just
for
say
the
one line?
doctors.
Mr. Pandey, I'm coming to you only. I'm coming to you. Just let Dr. Dalwai make his point.
Yeah,
and you
it's
can
very
respond.
wishful to say that society should have a respect for doctors. Try saying that to somebody who just lost a relative in front of his eyes because there was no oxygen in the hospital. Now, does that ring a bell about what happened a few months back? And Mirror now ran a big campaign against it. At Gorakhpur, what happened when children died because the oxygen supply ran out? How many district collectors have been implicated?
And nobody
How
has
many
been
hospital
punished.
administrators have been
And
implicated?
nobody has been punished
anybody
till
been
now.
arrested? Has the chief minister been indicted? Not at all. There's no question about all this. And what do we have? We have doctors from India who pass out in India, study in India, go to UK, United Kingdom, and then turn out to be the best doctors there. And our Prime Minister goes to UK, he has to give a speech about corruption in India, and he uses this example of doctors going on trips to Singapore to denigrate doctors and to insult doctors, and as a head of state, he puts doctors in such a terribly bad position in the eyes of people. In a country where he has gone to London, where doctors from India have gone to UK and are literally running the NHS.
No, but
how does it,
but that
what
is a
impression
fact.
does it create in the
No, he
minds
has
of the
not told a
Indian
lie.
people here?
He has
If
not
the
told
head
a
of
lie,
state is
that
going
is
to
a fact.
insult the doctors for no
That is
rhyme
a
or
fact.
reason. And coming back to what Mr. Sriram
Tanvi,
said
can I come
about,
in here?
about bringing in a
Telling the
good
truth
system.
is not a
Well,
reason.
one second, let me complete the
In the
private
eyes of
medical
doctor,
system.
he
I
is
agree with
making
you.
this
There
debate
may be
a political debate.
there are many bad
This
sheep
doctor,
or black sheep.
whoever he is,
Let me
he is trying
complete.
to
I'm
make
not
it a
done yet.
political
Telling
debate.
the truth
There
is
are
not
many
a
black
reason.
sheep in the
What
medical
honorable
profession,
Prime
I agree.
Minister- No,
The
no,
way to
you
put down
don't
these
make it
black
a
sheep
political
is
debate.
for the government to get its act together, for the government to improve its government hospitals and improve the services in government hospitals so much that nobody wants to go to this black sheep in private practice. Why doesn't the government do that? You have all the infrastructure, you have the KEM hospital, you have the AIMS, you have the Sayan Nair JJ hospital in Bombay. Why don't you improve the infrastructure so well that no patient wants to go to a private hospital and pay
that
money?
point is
That's
completely
the best
taken.
way to put the
That-
private doctors
Dr.
in their
Dalwai, I
place.
completely agree with you there. It is because of the abysmal infrastructure, the abysmal
Absolutely.
backup that they have, that nobody wants to go into the government hospitals, especially after they've
That's the
spent
best way to put
years
down the black sheep in the
and
private
so much
practice.
money and so much effort into getting that doctor's degree. Rajiv Pandey, you will have to respond to all of the points that have been raised here. How can the government absolve
see,
itself of
yes,
any
I will
responsibility?
go-
What have you
I
done
will-
in the last 4 years?
I'm saying I will go one by one. First of all, there was some doctor was talking about Prime Minister's statement. Whatever he has said, that was debated in public, and whatever was right or wrong, that has been said. And don't make it a political debate. In the guise of doctor, you don't become agent of some party. So I'm not going to comment
Excuse
on
me,
that.
you are an
The
agent of
issue
a
is I
party, so you
completely
don't
agree
behave
with
like an
that.
agent of a
No,
party.
Mr. Pandey,
No,
Mr.
listen,
I have a
Pandey.
right to say
No,
what
no,
I
listen,
want.
listen.
You are
Don't
an
make
agent of a
I'm
charges.
party.
talking,
No,
I'm
no,
agent of
you
the party.
very
our
unfortunate.
I'm agent of the
panelists
party.
being
I'm talking.
political
You
agents.
don't bring Prime Minister in this discussion,
Why-
please.
He is a citizen
You
of
don't
this
bring
country.
Prime Minister
If he
in this
feels
discussion, we are talking something
disappointed,
else.
one minute, Mr.
No, no,
Rajiv
don't
Pandey, one
bring
minute.
Prime
You will not
Minister
yell at my
into this
panelists.
debate.
One,
Can I make my point?
you will first listen to what I have to say. Please don't yell at our panelists or insult them. Secondly, everybody on this panel is also a citizen of this country. If they feel dejected or disappointed or hurt by any statement that has been made, even by a Prime Minister, it's all right. They can express their opinion without you accusing
It's
them of
free
being
speech.
political about it.
For
We
that,
have free speech.
Go ahead, please. You may want to rebut
listen,
that with
Tanvi,
facts.
Tanvi,
You
we
can
have
do
political
that.
right,
that
don't we?
this
Don't
is not
accuse
the
people
debate.
We have a
I'm
political
not
right
yelling at
also.
anybody. Can I just make my point?
Yes.
Sir, Madam, can I make my point?
Go ahead, please.
What I was trying to say, don't make this a political debate. If you want
It
to have
doesn't
a political
become a
debate, we
political
can have
debate
another
just
debate.
because
What I'm
somebody
trying
has
to say,
said something
one of
about the Prime Minister. It's all right.
No,
He's a
he's
citizen.
making that. I
He's
know this.
expressing his
I know
view.
this, all these things.
Why are you making it
You are
political?
making
I know
it
all
a
these
political
things.
debate.
Get back to the point, please. Tell us what has the government done?
I don't think the gentleman has any policy prescription.
Yeah, I'm saying that. One of the panelists has rightly said
He does
that
not have
because
any
of
policy
the
prescription.
overcrowding, the per capita, until the per capita doctors and hospital goes up, this government is working for that. I told you in beginning only.
How?
Several aims have been opened and they are trying to create infrastructure. Then I told you that how you see the list that how many aims were opened. How many they are trying that all
You
the
think
hospitals
opening
should get
5 extra aims
facilities
is going to
so that
solve the
pressure
problem of
will go
this
down.
country's
But
public
until-
health system?
Yeah, I am saying they are trying. You can't say that what has happened in 70 years can be undone in 4 years. So I am not going in that. What I'm trying to say, as one of the esteemed panelists has rightly said, the biggest problem is the overcrowding. Overcrowding is because the way our population is exploding, The successive governments did not create the hospital and doctors for that. The good doctors, as they are not ready to.
Mr. Pandey,
because either
can
they
I
are
tell
getting
you
good
something?
jobs in the government, or
Mr.
they are not
Pandey,
ready
can
to
I
join.
tell you something?
What I'm
Our government, your government that has been in
How many
power for
patients have
4
been treated
years
in
is
these new
still
facilities?
spending
Give
less
us the
than
data. There is none to be given.
1.5% of the
Because all
GDP
this
on
is on
public
paper,
health care.
on files only. And you're trying to make a
1.2%.
fool of us?
Mr.
The
Shriram Khanna,
Indian
coming to
people
you,
will not be fooled anymore. They can
1.2%
see
of
for
our
themselves
GDP
and
gets
understand
spent
what's
on
going on.
public health care. If the government cared so much about
It's
the
not
health
about
of the
speech
people
making, it's
and
about
the
performance.
infrastructure, and it cared so much
I'm
about the
sorry,
security of the
neither you have
doctors,
policy prescription
you would have
nor
allotted
implementation.
more money.
And at the end of 4 years,
Where
you
we
still want
stand
to give
today,
us
we need
speeches to say
4%
that
of our
healthcare
GDP
is
to be
improved.
dedicated
Look
to
at the state
public
of
health care, if not
Listen to
more.
this debate.
Where is the
This
money?
debate
Where
would
is
not
the
have been
plan?
taking place if healthcare was every fine. Doctors are being beaten up. There's a shortage
That's
of
what
doctors.
I'm saying. If you
shortage
need
of beds.
4% on medical, then there's some other issues
Shortage of
also.
administrative
Then there is a
systems.
defense, there is a
Shortage of
infrastructure.
medical
That's what I'm
care.
trying to say.
And you are trying to
will
say
keep
things are
on keep on increasing the population, and you will think that it will continue like that. There should be some, as somebody has rightly said on your channel, that there should be a whole health policy. In that, the population control is also one of the part. You cannot make an overbridge for 500 cars, and in that time you can create 5,000 cars. And the basic issue which we are talking about, that why people are getting restless. People are getting restless because they feel that doctors are responsible, though most of the cases doctors are not responsible. They are helpless because of the overcrowding. And how decongestion can take place, because if the good centers are created across the country, then it may go down. And as you have rightly said, that GDP,
you explain to me
the percentage should go up.
Please,
don't
you explain to me what Dr. Dalwai has raised that point. Where is the action by government coming on ground? What happened in Gorakhpur? Where is the accountability there? Did anybody from the administration face any action? No. You put two junior doctors behind bars for 8 months and then turned around and said, oh, there is no evidence of anything going wrong. We don't know what happened. How are you going to fix the problem?
There are 6 people. There are 6 people, 6 officers are still in jail. It's not only about 2 doctors. Those who were responsible for this, there are 8 people were arrested. And what I'm trying to say, if you see about the Gorakhpur also, that
in Gorakhpur, your government's report turned around and said there was no shortage of oxygen. You'll allow 2 doctors to still rot in jail for 8 months while admitting that there was no shortage of oxygen. So what are you talking about?
If government has given a report, what can I say about that? If there is an investigation, is done, and then some report has been given, what can I make comment about that? I am not a person who is aware about that, what has really happened. If government has found that it is not because of that,
Mr. Shailesh Gandhi, what do we do when the representative of the BJP ruling party turns around and says, we have a population problem in our country and the population won't stop bursting, so what can we do? It's so difficult to catch up.
So beat the doctors.
Then don't govern this nation. The point is, but I would again reiterate, taking care of our healthcare, expanding our healthcare, making doctors more sensitive, having enough doctors in enough hospitals is a medium-term or long-term solution. Immediate solution, and unless we solve it, these incidents are going to keep repeating. Immediate solution which can actually be implemented even in a month or 2 is to increase the security level in each ward of a hospital. These things are happening everywhere, and alternately we'll keep having doctors going on strike, and therefore the public health system becoming much worse. There is an immediate need, I repeat, an immediate need.
Mr. Gandhi, while I agree with you that there is an immediate need, I'm sure you know it. Let's be realistic about it. We don't have enough doctors to treat our patients. We obviously will not have enough security to protect these doctors. That is largely the problem. We don't have enough security in terms of policemen versus the citizens ratio. That's as ghastly and disturbing as our patient to doctor ratio is.
Can I just come in?
Yes.
Yeah. There's the
each
very simple what to do
needs
immediately.
to have security.
No, I agree with you. Absolutely. The doctors need to have security, but yes, Dr.
There's
Dalwai.
something much better than we can do than just increasing the security and make the hospital like prisons or mantralayas, which are well guarded, if I may say so.
Yes.
The simple thing is increase the salaries you pay the doctors, the paramedical people, the administration, the staff in the hospitals. Make sure all the medications which are available in private for a price are available in the government hospitals for a price paid by the government. In short, what you are saying, increase the health spending. This government has decreased the health spending on schemes like malnutrition. Increase the salaries of doctors, increase the facilities. The doctors will not go to a private practice. Ask me, all my juniors are worried about starting their practice in the private sector because they cannot even imagine coping up with bigger hospitals. At the same time, they cannot imagine joining a government hospitals. Just increase the public spending in public hospitals, public health. Good doctors will flock there, and so will patients flock there.
1.2% of our
where
GDP is spent on
is.
public health care versus at least 4% which is needed. The government is looking at a national health scheme which would, we still don't know what the final details are and how long, 1 year, 2 year, how long is going to take to even bring
Instead of building statues and various other things, let's spend money on the public health system.
Absolutely. Well said, Dr. Dalwai. Let me go across to some of our viewers who are also on the phone line. And I believe we've got a caller from Mumbai, a doctor from Mumbai.
Hello.
Dr. Sanghvi is on the phone line. Good evening, Dr. Sanghvi. Go ahead, please.
Good evening. I totally agree with what my friend Samir says, but just wanted to add a few things. That we are all worried about security of the doctors. If they remove the security of all these politicians who don't need it for whatever reason they have these gun-toting bodyguards with them, if they used, even the policemen, if they're used for the security of the hospitals, this security problem will be solved. Two, generally people talk about doctors earning. No one questions how much a lawyer should earn, how much a CA should earn, how much an engineer should earn. Why are we only questioned about our earnings? Aren't we human beings? Don't our children have dreams? Don't we have to dream? Don't we need to go out to travel? So we also need that money. And we are not doing it unscrupulously, that we have told the patient this is going to be your charge and this is what we collect. So he's in total understanding that this is what I'm going to be charged. So no one is going to say 5,000 and then charge 50,000. Third thing I want to say, that if there is an accident anywhere, a train bridge collapses, a train meets in an accident, why doesn't the public go and hit those guys? Last year, our chief minister said enough is enough in the parliament when doctors went on strike. They put on ESMA, they put us in jail. See what conditions our residents. Residency is the most honest period of a doctor's life, where his only aim is not to earn money, but to save a patient's life.
Right.
And if their life is threatened, how do you expect them to work properly? They work for 18 hours, 36 hours. Even I have done duties 48 hours continuously. Now, is that human? So first, treat us as human beings.
Yes.
Don't provoke. Part of it, media is also responsible for provoking the public against doctors.
I knew one of you, somebody would say that, but we can only hope that when we do constructive debates like this, that myth also goes away. Thank you for your service also, Dr. Sanghvi. We appreciate each and every doctor who honestly, goes out there to only help treat people and save people. Sanjay Sharma is on the phone line calling us from Dharamshala. Go ahead, please.
Tanvi, hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, good evening. Go ahead, please.
Tanvi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I fully agree with Dr. Samir. You know, give me 3 minutes. Give me 3 minutes, and I'll explain you. Because my father was, almost 85 years old, and we were in Himachal Pradesh, and he was admitted in Fortis. So all the tests, and Fortis wanted to extort money out of us. We shifted him to PGI. We decided we go to a government hospital, and government hospitals have got the finest of the doctors. I fully agree with Samir. But the problem is only with government. You know, the doctor was talking to us, what the BJP spokesperson is talking or the Congress spokesperson is talking, we see there. You have the private wards or the operation theaters allotted out of turn. And let me, that was the doctor's statement. Out of turn to the affluent people, and people die on stretchers. I moved around into the entire hospital premises there, and people keep lying there for 50 days, 100 days, and their operations or their treatment is being postponed because there are VIPs. And that is what happens in government hospitals.
Yes.
So it is not the doctors to be blamed for. It is not the nursing staff. They all get frustrated, and doctors are helpless. The doctor himself who operated upon my father was helpless. I spoke to the administration department as well, and they go on strike immediately. If you object against the nursing staff or their behavior, they go on strikes.
Yes.
What happens in government hospitals, and that is
Point taken, Mr. Sharma. Thank you for calling. I'm sorry, I'm running out of time, so I'm going to quickly go across for some last comments. And I just want to highlight a couple of instances. Actually, this one instance that happened last month, where a man named Vijender had gone to a Delhi government hospital for treatment for head injuries. He had injuries on his head. The doctors instead operated upon his leg. They literally drilled a hole into his leg, thinking that he was another patient who had a fractured leg. Now, we actually went and spoke to the family, and we verified these facts. How do you explain when such instances happen, Dr. Dalwai and Dr. Wali, if any of you would want to take this up? And we often get these stories from various parts of our country. In one case, they had cut off the limb of a patient and put it as a pillow under the head of the patient, the same patient.
Yes.
What do we attribute this to?
This is sad. This is absolutely not done. This is very sad. These things are not to be done. This is very, very inhumane. This is something which comes in media and provokes us to be better human beings first than the doctors. This is one. Second is overcrowding leads to many complications. Overcrowding and out-of-turn treatments also need many complications. So people should have a system to wait. They should themselves put examples that we are waiting for our turn. In various foreign countries, UK and USA, people wait for operations for many years. An eye patient can wait for operation for 2-3 years, like that. But we always use our resources and get out of the turn treatment. That is a very different story. But what story you are focusing, that misbehavior and alleged assaults on doctors, is somewhere society has to be blamed. It is from society, you see, and society is getting damaged. The values in society are getting decreased. The society is getting very inhumane. Society is getting restless, frustrated, and against the doctor community, because they are the soft targets.
Yeah, okay. Dr. Dalwai, I need to wrap up, but 30 seconds to you. Yes.
Just like to come back, you said about the wrong leg or the wrong part of the body being operated. There's a book by, again, an Indian surgeon, Dr. Atul Gawande, which is called the Checklist Manifesto. He's a surgeon, an Indian guy. He's a surgeon in US, in Boston, if I'm not mistaken. And he's written a book about medical science, and this book is called the Checklist Manifesto. And he describes in the United States the number of incidents where there was negligence, partly due to the fact that proper care was not taken. And the simple introduction of something like a checklist has brought down these incidences of negligence in the American medical fraternity by a huge number. What it means is every profession needs to get more and more professional as it advances. And there are various techniques or various professional new factors that can be brought into even the Indian health system. But for that, we need the infrastructure. We need doctors to focus on medical practice, on the science. There have been times when we have been spending our time getting food for the patient in the ward because there's just nothing for him. We've been spending our money to get medicines for the patients. So we need to create a system for Indian doctors in India where they can really function as well as they're allowed to be functioning in other countries. I think that's when we'll really have the strength and magic of Indian medical fraternity in India.
Right. Well, Amaya from Mumbai says the perception of doctors is negative. Government is not doing anything to fix this perception or protect the doctors. Anand says there are 4 BMC hospitals in Mumbai. There are many temporary talks there. If the situation is not improved, or expenditure is not improved, then the good doctors are going to move away to private hospitals. And this is what our panelists were also mentioning. So Babu Bhai Thakkar from Ahmedabad also says if you want to save the doctors, you have to take necessary steps to provide the security. Out of time, so I'm going to thank my panelists at this point. But here is what it is, viewers. The point of this conversation was also to highlight the plight of the public healthcare system, the state of affairs and how it's completely crumbled. Our healthcare system is in ICU. It's literally in CCU, critical care unit. And the government seems to be not doing enough at all. They're not even making the effort to try and fix the problem. One announcement here and one announcement there is not going to solve the problem when the patient is in CCU. You need to wake up now and you need to get moving now. Unfortunately, it's the patients and the doctors, both these camps are stuck in this abysmal healthcare structure, and they seem to be then blaming each other. leading to a complete breakdown of trust between the patient and the doctors. In our country, we used to have the utmost respect for doctors, for healers, because we believed in them. We believe they are the people who can save us, and we've given that respect to them. I think inherently we also need to start introspecting. Do we really show that kind of respect to our doctors? Are we being impatient, especially to somebody who's working 24 hours, 48 hours straight, to ensure more patients get treated, because we don't have enough hospitals, we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough beds? Let's show some respect and empathy and get some in return. And next time you seem to be losing a temper, you know somebody who's angry that the doctors haven't done enough, also remember the fact that perhaps it's not the doctor but the system. Perhaps your government hasn't done enough. Channel your anger and your frustration in the right direction. The government is supposed to fix the public healthcare system, provide you those services, and it seems to be failing in doing that. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.